Oye, and welcome to the University of Lethbridge Faculty of Fine Arts. Our university's Blackfoot name is Iniskum, meaning Sacred Buffalo Stone. The university is located in traditional Blackfoot Confederacy territory. We honor the Blackfoot people and their traditional ways of knowing and caring for this land, as well as all Aboriginal peoples who have helped shape and continue to strengthen our university community. My name is Benta Hansen, and I am the coordinator for the Music at Noon concert series here at the university. This is a free concert series that is open to everyone, so thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the University of Lethbridge and to the spring 2021 season of Music at Noon. In this online edition of Music at Noon, pianists Brad Parker and Deanna Oye provide an engaging talk about collaboration and perform Mozart's Sonata for two pianos, K448, in D major. Here's a little bit about our performers. Brad Parker is Assistant Professor of Piano and Studio Coordinator in the Department of Music at University of Lethbridge. Here, he teaches studio piano and musicianship skills. He has performed extensively as a soloist and collaborative pianist in the United States, Canada, France, Italy, and Haiti. An active promoter of new music, Brad has debuted several works for piano and various chamber ensembles at the Banff Chamber Music Festival, Musique Maintenant in Paris, as well as the Women in Music Festival at the Eastman School of Music. Prior to joining the faculty at the University of Lethbridge, Brad taught at Charleston Southern University and Erskine College in South Carolina. Brad completed a master's and a DMA in piano performance at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York, with further graduate studies in France at the Paris Conservatory. His principal teachers include Rebecca Pennies, Dr. Heather Dawn Tavis, and Jean Kerner. Pianist Deanna Oye is Associate Professor in the Department of Music at the University of Lethbridge, where she teaches studio piano and developed the Collaborative Piano Guitar Course series. She holds a Doctor of Musical Arts from the Eastman School of Music, where she studied with Dr. Jean Barr, and has given solo and collaborative performances throughout Canada, the U.S., Scotland, the Netherlands, Germany, and Japan, with broadcasts on CBC Radio 2 and National Public Radio in the United States. She has been invited to give master classes and talks throughout Canada and the U.S., and actively contributes to music organizations including MuseCan, the Alberta Registered Music Teachers Association, the Alberta Piano Teachers Association, and the Canadian Music Centre Prairie Region. Deanna is an enthusiastic advocate for new music and music in interdisciplinary contexts, with special interests in helping her students make connections between piano performance and their other passions. Please enjoy Brad Parker and Deanna Oye in this, our spring semester inaugural Music at Noon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for a program we're calling From 1781 to 2021, a Mozart Collaboration for All Times. Collaboration is central to the musical experience, whether it happens during the compositional process, the studying process, or during the act of performance. Today we will be talking about the functions and logistics of piano duo and duet repertoire, past and present, as well as exploring the drama of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's Sonata for two pianos, K448, which we will perform for you today. Many a young piano student encounters duet repertoire early in their musical development. While learning to read simple melodies, perhaps the teacher plays along with a supportive accompaniment, adding harmony and character. There's a plaque on my childhood bedroom wall, which is a prize from the Kiwanis Music Festival piano duet category. Piano duets have long been an important part of piano curriculum, and there's a wealth of repertoire that has been composed and arranged for this very purpose. So much of a pianist's work is done alone, while collaboration requires listening and responding to the other players. Students must learn to balance their parts, sometimes leading, sometimes following. They also need to feel the musical line together, breathing at the same time, pushing together, etc. It's not just a matter of playing at the same speed. Advising students used to be a part of my job, and I often cited these types of skills when explaining how a musical education can strengthen a resume, even for careers that seem far removed from music. Listening, communicating, leading, following, decision-making, these are useful skills in most walks of life. Music making is a fun social activity, and in Mozart's time it was expected for a person of high social status to be educated in the musical arts. Piano duets would have made for good entertainment for both performers and listeners at friendly dinner parties. Arranging partners would allow the children of upper-class families to get acquainted, leading to strong friendships and sometimes more. Many times I found myself caught up in uncontrollable laughter while squeezing in front of a keyboard, arms intertwined with my partner. But it isn't always fun and games. I learned the hard way that it is a common courtesy to trim your fingernails before playing piano four hands repertoire. Piano duet repertoire began to flourish in the 18th century with composers like Mozart and Schubert, contributing many small and large works, from short dances to multi-movement sonatas. One can also find arrangements of orchestral works, for example, Bach's Brandenburg concertos and Beethoven's symphonies, which, prior to recording technology, allowed amateur musicians to familiarize themselves with this repertoire. Pianists do not have many opportunities to play in large ensembles such as orchestras, so playing these epic works can be a very satisfying experience. During their extensive performance tours as children, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and his sister Nannerl would have regularly played together at one piano, or more likely, one harpsichord. Some of his earlier works may have been composed for their concerts. Here's a famous portrait of the Mozart family, with Mother Anna Maria in the background. In the picture, the father Leopold leaning on the piano or harpsichord with a violin, and the siblings seated at the keyboard demonstrating hand-crossing technique. Unfortunately, the angle makes it impossible to see what they're playing, and despite the expressions on their faces, I assure you that playing piano ensemble repertoire is very enjoyable. Having two players at one keyboard greatly enhances the tonal range of the music, allowing for a greater level of complexity. However, sharing the keyboard and adjusting position to fit hinders each player's movement. I'd say it feels a bit like a group exercise class, where there isn't enough room to adequately spread out, so you can't have the full range of motion without hitting the person next to you. After playing four hands repertoire for a period of time, I usually find myself stiff and sore due to the awkward angles and positions that keep me from interfering with my partner. I expect that this is taken into account by the composer in most cases, such that the music is somewhat simpler in each part as compared to a solo work. However, some composers have creatively invented new and challenging techniques, such as hand crossing, to allow each player to cover more than half of the keyboard. A similar piano ensemble, which doesn't cause extra chiropractic bills, is the piano duo for two pianos, four hands, like the piece that we will be performing. Here, each pianist has a whole instrument to themselves, so there's nothing keeping them from executing passages of great complexity. And today, it also allows for adequate social distancing. Repertoire for this is sparse until the 19th century, when composers seem to have embraced the ensemble. Rehearsing and performing the repertoire can pose different logistical challenges, since two instruments are required. They must be in tune with each other, and ideally, they will need to be of comparable quality. We are so fortunate to have two beautiful Steinway concert grand pianos in the recital hall at the University of Lethbridge, a luxury for piano duo performance. What would Mozart's sonata for two pianos have been like in the late 18th century? Well, it would sound very different from what you will hear today, primarily because the piano was so different back then. We even call it by a different name, the forte piano, and more specifically, the Viennese forte piano. This instrument had not been around for very long when Mozart was born, and it's likely that most of his early works were actually written for the harpsichord, the keyboard instrument that the forte piano came to replace. Unlike the harpsichord, the forte piano could express a wide range of dynamics by varying the speed of the key and therefore the hammer which hits the strings. The momentum of a fast-moving hammer displaces the strings significantly, creating sound waves with large amplitudes which produce louder sounds. The harpsichord activates the string by plucking it, and the speed of attack does not seem to make any noticeable difference in the loudness of the sound. It doesn't matter how slow or how fast you depress the harpsichord key, it's impossible to vary the dynamics. Compared to our Steinways, the forte piano tone was very bright, but very thin, and it decayed or faded very quickly. Here's the opening of Mozart's sonata for two pianos on forte pianos. The modern piano has a stronger tone, which lasts much longer, but is mellow in comparison to its ancient ancestor. You may have noticed that the older and newer versions of the piano were tuned to different pitches as well. Along with a stronger tone comes a heavier action that would feel extremely stiff to pianists of the classical period. It takes almost no effort to depress a key on a forte piano because the mechanism is so much smaller and lighter. The forte piano of Mozart's time had many fewer notes, so the keyboard was much narrower, making for even less space for the two players. This sonata has a range of almost 5 octaves, while our Steinways have a range of over 7 octaves of notes. On Mozart's instruments, this piece sounds and feels very different. Who would have played this challenging sonata? Mozart wrote it for his exceptional pupil, Josepha Auernhammer, who performed the piece with her teacher, with whom she's reported to have been in love. Mozart did not pursue a romantic relationship with Josepha, but he did perform with her on several occasions, including this sonata as well as the concerto for two pianos, demonstrating that he had great respect for her artistic abilities. She had a long and successful career as a pianist and was also a talented composer, writing mostly for the forte piano in the form of variations.
The title of our program, From 1781 to 2021, A Mozart Collaboration for All Times, has several layers of meaning. First, of course, our featured piece, the Sonata for two pianos in D major, is 230 years old this year. As the popularity of duo piano playing has grown over the years, this sonata has only solidified its central place in the repertoire. I first learned and performed this piece when I was a teenager, playing with a friend who was my regular duet partner growing up. At that time, the sonata was a big challenge for us. Mozart always exposes performers technically and musically. But in the innocence and naivete of teenagehood, we just rehearsed, worked out the ensemble issues, made some musical decisions, and then performed. It helped us to grow as musicians, to develop our collaborative skills, and to push our pianistic abilities. In coming back to this piece years later as a professional musician, it continues to offer us technical and musical challenges. But unlike my teenage musical encounter, now those challenges are really clear to me. So meeting them at a professional standard pushes us yet to a further level. As Brad mentioned, we are really fortunate to be able to rehearse and to perform in the recital hall. The duo piano format of this sonata is the perfect one for physical distancing times without compromising the work itself. The V-shaped physical arrangement of the two pianos on stage that you will see in the performance is designed to satisfy our ability to see and to hear each other, to read each other's gestures and subtle communications, and also to try to bring the camera, and thus you, as our online audience, a little closer to the live performance experience. Which brings me now to the sonata itself. Allow me to invite you into Mozart's drama, a performance in 3 acts. You have your ticket. You are no longer on Zoom. And so now, take your seat in the theater. As you sit back, the conductor prepares the orchestra for the first act, a prelude. From the bold opening tutti gestures, you know that Mozart is about to bring you all of the drama of his greatest theatrical compositions. The constant activity of the strings is central to the excitement. The cellos and violas insist with pulsing eighth notes. The first and second violins alternate between stately melodies and magnificent, flourishing responses. Majesty turns into elegance and playfulness, each in turn, but always ruled by an insistence and drive that sets up the engaging drama waiting to unfold. As the first act comes to a close, the heavily embroidered curtain opens on a solitary figure situated in the middle of the stage. Our protagonist moves forward, at the same time singing of the joys and the woes of living in this drama. The orchestra colors and punctuates the action, at times indicating an ironic moment or foreshadowing an event to come. A second character enters the scene, and the two intertwine in a glorious exchange of heartfelt emotion, the central core of the drama. Act 3 brings us back to the drive of the first, this time with an overwhelming sense of play and high-spirited exuberance. The strings are active again, with perpetual motion and fast-moving dialogue. We are swept along on a ride of bright and changing colors, holding our senses captive until the conductor leads the final chords, bringing our drama to an emphatic and unyielding close. We hope that you will enjoy our performance today of this Mozart Sonata for all times, a piece celebrating a remarkable birthday, a piece for youth or stage-hardened performers, a piece for COVID times or for any time. Thanks for joining us.